My name is Jen Hurley, and I am the Pattern Production Director at Brooklyn Tweed. I'm going to demonstrate the rib-cabled cast-on Continental-style, holding the working yarn in my left hand. We have another tutorial demonstrating this cast-on for knitters who hold their working yarn in their right hand. So both versions begin the same way. For this cast-on, you need your yarn. I'm using Arbor here, which is a DK weight 100% American Targhee wool yarn, and your knitting needles. We start by leaving a tail approximately 6 to 8 inches that'll be woven in later. And we make a slip knot and put that on the end of our needle. Using our working yarn and not our tail, which I'll get out of the way, we insert the right needle tip into the cast-on stitch. And knit a stitch. Pull the loop out and put it back on the left tip. Leaving some slack between these 2 stitches, I'm going to insert my right needle between the stitches from front to back. Loop over the needle tip as if to knit. Pull the yarn through to the front, and then I'll place this new loop up onto the end of the left needle. So we now have 3 stitches on our needle. In this version of the rib-cabled cast-on, the leftmost stitch over here, that was our slip knot, and that can be considered a knit stitch. The second stitch can be considered a purl, and then this newly added stitch is a knit stitch. So what we need to do now is add a purl stitch. To do this, I'm going to bring the working yarn around to the front, take my right needle tip, insert it from the back between the 2 stitches. So I'm going from the back to the front, looping over the needle tip, pulling the loop through, and putting it up on the left needle tip. So those are the 2 steps here. So we're going to insert the needle between the 2 stitches front to back for a knit stitch. Place that up on the left needle tip, bring the yarn around to the front for a purl stitch, insert the needle tip from back to front, loop over the needle tip, and place that loop up on the left tip. Notice for these stitches, we're giving the loops a little bit of extra room. That allows us to be able to go in between the stitches for the next stitch. The knit stitches that were cast on appear forward of the purl stitches. The purl stitches recede a bit to the background. The knit stitches have what appears to be a knit stitch at their base, and the purl stitches have a little bit of a blip of a purl bump at their base. So there are 2 ways to proceed here. If we're going to be working 1-by-1 ribbing in the round, we would bring the first cast-on stitch, the slip knot over here, around, and it would become the first working stitch in our round. If we're working flat, we can begin where we left off and just start knitting across the stitches. So I can knit into the knit stitch, and purl into the purl stitch. Knit, purl, knit, and purl, all the way to the end. So I'm now going to show you a variation where we begin the cast on with a purl stitch. So as before, we start the same way with a slip knot onto our left needle. Tail out of the way, and I have my working yarn ready to go. So I will, as before, knit into this slip knot for a second stitch. So both versions begin the same way. Cast on, slip knot, and then knit into the slip knot for a knit stitch. So for the first version, we went between the 2 stitches from front to back to purl the stitch. In this variation, we are going to, for our 3rd stitch, purl the stitch. So we need to bring our working yarn forward. Our knitting needle goes behind the work, between the 2 stitches. From back to front, purl over the needle tip, pull the loop out, and place the loop up onto the needle tip. For the next stitch, since that was a purl, we need to work a knit. So I'll bring the working yarn to the back. Yarn needle goes between the stitches, front to back. Knit the stitch. The loop goes up onto the needle tip. And as you can see, we have a knit stitch. The 2nd stitch is sitting a bit forward. So our cast on stitch is a purl stitch, knit stitch. The 3rd stitch, which was the variation, was a purl. And it has that little purl bump below. And then we have the 4th stitch is a knit stitch. Here's the ribbing after I've completed some rows. And you can see how the cast on stitches have flowed into the fabric. So whether they are knits or purls, they flow really nicely into this 1x1 ribbing. So this is the rib cabled cast on Continental style